Let's make 2 of our custom initial rings, except this time we aren't making them with initials at all. So this was actually one of the first and most interesting custom requests that I've ever gotten for this ring. So they wanted 2 matching rings, and then they also wanted both of them to have a horseshoe stamped on them. When I first saw this order come through, I was like, wow, that's absolutely not going to fit on this kind of ring, because normally I stamp initials, and the section that I have to stamp on is only 3 to 4 millimeters, which can just barely fit each initial, let alone a whole horseshoe. Anyways, so when I saw this order, I was a little bit anxious. I didn't think it was going to be a request that I was able to fulfill. So with that being, I decided to look through my scrap metal, and I actually ended up finding a blank ring that I was able to practice stamping on. I first had to make sure that the horseshoe stamp actually fit onto the ring, which it did. And then I also had to practice stamping a blank ring with the horseshoe. And surprisingly and thankfully, it was a lot easier to stamp than expected. Anyways, after all that, I got started on their order, which is what you're watching right now. As you can see, I just soldered each of the ring bands shut. And now we're going to put them onto our ring band drill and hammer them out until they're perfect circles just like this. After this, the rings go into what is called a pickling solution. This is just going to help clean off any fire scale on the rings. After soldering, I do have to sand off any excess solder that may be on the band, so I have to sand it on both the inside and the outside. And now we are going to grab our sandbag and our ring band drill yet again, and then put the ring on there, and we're going to hammer out that section that I was talking about earlier, and this is where we're going to be able to stamp initials, or in this case, a horseshoe. I'm just going to go ahead and repeat the same exact process for the second ring. And after hammering out the rings and soldering them, they are beaten up quite a bit. So we're going to need to go in with all these different sanding discs, sand down the metal starting with this green sanding disc, and work our way all the way down to a gray sanding disc, which is a 2000 grit. This is just going to help get out major scratches and dents and make sure all the metal on the ring is the same level. Once both rings are fully sanded on the outside, I'm going to place them on the ring mandrel one last time, and this is the part where we're going to stamp the horseshoe. If you see in any of my other videos, it's pretty clear to see that this stamp is a lot bigger than our initial stamps, which is why I was so concerned, but again, like I said earlier, it ended up working perfectly. So I'm just going to stamp a horseshoe on each ring. Here's what the first one looks like so far. Also, I'm not going to lie, when I saw this custom request, I wasn't sure it was going to look good on the ring, but I really do love how both of these rings turned out. Anyways, now we also need to go ahead and sand the inside of both of the rings. So I'm just going to switch my sanding disc out for a roll of sandpaper. And this is the same process as the sanding discs. I need to start with a super low grit and work my way all the way up to a 2000 grit. Once the rings are fully sanded, I get a little break because I get to throw them into the jewelry tumbler and let the rings tumble for about an hour. The whole purpose of the jewelry tumbler is to get out any minor imperfections while also bringing a shine to the rings. Anyways, now we're on to the last and final step, which is just going in with 2 different polishing compounds, and now the rings are officially done, and here's how they turned out.